Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon listeners. It's me Sulaiman Ben Sware coming back on Facebook Live. Today is Friday the 25th of March 2022. The time is just gone 10 minutes to 3 o'clock in the afternoon in Birmingham, England. If you just bear me a minute, let me share this video and we can start the conversation. Thank you very much. Again, Juma Mubarak to all of you. Assalamu alaikum. It's been a while. We've been quite busy and just decided to concentrate on other priorities. And now we're coming back, even though we haven't come on Facebook Live. We've been active in other areas. But we're coming back on Facebook Live to have this conversation. A very important conversation for that matter, and I'll try and keep it short as possible. And to start with, we are talking about the situation in the country. Where are we now as a country? The entire world is been affected by the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. The entire world been affected, and this is at the backdrop of the pandemic, and we've just gone through to this. It's affecting the entire world, but it's going to affect those countries that are not governed properly, that are not governed better. It's going to affect them more. And Gambia will be one of those countries. We cannot excuse ourselves. We cannot blame our entire predicament, our problem right now, to what is happening in Russia or what has happened during the pandemic. We have to ask ourselves, are we ever prepared? Are we being governed in a way and manner that's effective in the anticipations of global crisis that we can able to our economy, our society, or whatever we do, we'll be able to take, absorb some of this shock, or we will able to shoulder on and make things better for our people. And you will all agree with me that that's not in the case in the Gambia. And it's not only the Gambia, but Africa as a whole, but it's worse in countries like Gambia. It's worse for countries like Gambia because we are never prepared, because we are entirely dependent on other people's ideas. We are entirely dependent on the other people's way of life. We are never independent of ourselves. We don't have a sense of self-determination. We don't do anything, to guarantee our future. But the leadership we have is a leadership that puts their interests, personal interests, before the national interest. They don't care about the people. All they care about the wealth they can accumulate. They don't have any plans for the people. They don't have plans for the country or the future of the country. All their plans is to depend on aid, to depend on grants, and they can corruptly use those aid and grants to to fulfill their desires. Instead of drawing out economic plans, taking the right decisions, the very difficult decisions, in order to make sure we are free of these problems. Generally in Africa, when you ask for a GDP, what do they count? The amount of mineral resources they exported. It's never the finished product that has been developed or created from the resources they have in their country. It's never the finished product that they have, they develop using their own resources to create a value chain that create employment, that create sufficient returns for the people that own the property, for the people that work hard for the property. That's the problem with Africa. All our GDP is based on that. Another problem with our GDP is how much we export to imperial countries, be it China, be it America, be it Europe, be it Turkey, be it other countries. We don't ever measure, or if we measure, we find out how little we trade among ourselves, how little we trade ourselves. And this is all affecting us. That's why issues like this is going to affect us more. We don't prioritize as Africa, but Gambia, let's bring it back to Gambia, on things that we need, priority, things that we need, food. What food do we need? How much tons of groundnut are we cultivating? Do we consume that groundnut? How much of groundnut do we consume? What's the point? Do we export this groundnut? For what do we get from exporting this groundnut? Does it give us enough to have the luxury to buy other things? Then if that's not the case, if the groundnut we produce cannot give us the luxury to able to buy other things that we need, why not we change and produce less groundnuts and depend on producing more of the food that we need? Be it the coals, the corn, let's go on. And we can still produce groundnut for what we consume and a little that we'll export. And in fact, when we produce that groundnut, we make sure we produce the finest quality of groundnut that we sell in the international market to generate the income that can give us the luxury to do what we want to do. But this will come with people, a government that thinks of those priorities. And when we look at this, that's where the national security comes in again. When we talk about national security, most people just run and think of the people in uniform, thinking of war, thinking about other things. But national security starts with your basics, things that threaten your coexistence, the peace and security of the country, hunger, to fight hunger, and other things. And that's why in other countries like Israel, the defense, the military is at the top. Because without the military, Israel would not be Israel. Without their military might, Israel would not be Israel. They can invent everything else. But if they don't have the military power, they will not have existed. Then that comes the priority number one on their list. then Gambia, our priority is not about fighting wars. Our priority is not about defending our territorial integrity in any other how, but to defend our economy, to build on an economy. And we cannot build on an economy if we don't build on, feeding ourselves. It starts from feeding ourselves. If we can achieve that, we cannot develop. And we might not even be a stable country, a viable country. It starts from there. And coming back to this, I know the other excuse will be the pandemic, but we'll realize that we survived the pandemic, because what actually happened is, it's not true to our leadership. It's not true to our government that we survived the pandemic. We survived the pandemic due to our coming together. The leadership individuals took, leadership some certain institutions took, saw us through. And that leadership, the diaspora, is part of that. And the diaspora is in fact at the forefront of that. The mindset of the diaspora, kicked in and started in fact to dictate a narrative on the ground. Be it the education, every other diaspora, people that know, people that even don't know, try to inform the mindset of Gambians to say, take this seriously, we are going to face a very difficult period. But the diaspora did not end on that. I'm not saying they did everything, but I said they were at the forefront. And the forefront, again, are Gambians, independent Gambians on the ground. But we came collectively together to went on to prepare even stimulus packages, food packages, sensitization programs and everything before the government kicks in. Tells us that this government and the governments we have before are there in the mercy of our people. They are not leading. All they're doing is occupying a mandate and using that mandate to abuse us. We all know, and we have found out, that with the audit reports, not audit reports written by Ben Swallow or anybody else, but audit reports from the country itself, the National Audit Office, have unveiled the magnitude of corruption, the opportunity that this government took in order, in fact, to rob us even more in this middle of a medical emergency. They did not think of anything else but to go on robbing us in many ways. From giving contracts, patronizing their party members to their patrons, to their whatever families and everything else. And the average Gambian suffered throughout this. But again, what we find out was with the effect, the impact the pandemic caused in the entire world, the Gambian diasporas again, in fact, increased their remittance to the Gambia. It's one of the few countries that in fact increased their remittance in the course of these difficulties. And the Gambian diasporas were really affected. The percentage of debt among us, the redundancies and every other challenges that we faced did not stop us from connecting to our people and to work with them. That's why, again, I always say this. We should always be proud and never allow anybody else to silence us for who we are or for what we do. We do it for the love of our country. We do it for the love of our family. That's why it has never worked if anyone advocates a boycott of any form. Because we do care for our people and we do care for our country. It's unfortunate we don't have a leadership that do care for the people, that do care for the country. But what they do is to divide us. Yes, we have an identity, a Gambian identity, and that is a Gambian diaspora identity. It's a fact. It's not because we are better or anything else. It's because of the realities that we face, that we happen to live physically outside the Gambia, but we all know that spiritually and everything else, we are still in the Gambia. Gambia is in our heart. Gambia is in our mind. And everything we do will be for Gambia, and we are connected to Gambia. But instead of a government that should have used these capitals and enhance these capitals in order to bring the people together and bring the leadership together and to ensure that we progress. That's not a priority. What's the priority is to divide us. Divide us according to regional positions, wherever we are, diaspora, whatever it is. But again, to divide us according to our tribal lineage. Even though we know, Gambia, as I said, in this war, there's no tribes that intermarried to the extent of the Gambians do. But we have seen the poisonous, venomous utterance that come out from leaders that were supposed to unite us, to come together to work, to advance this country for what our founding fathers, our ancestors would be proud of, for a country that will pass on to the next generation better, in a better hands than our founding fathers, or ancestors have for us. They have not done that. They keep on dividing us and reducing the country into non-entity. We continue to say this. Then this situation again would not be nothing but a situation that the average Gambian would suffer, a situation that the patriotic Gambians, be on the ground or the diaspora, will be coming together to support each other, to support our families, and in turn support the country in order to live through this. It's a natural phenomenon. We will live through this and see the other side. Yes, wherever it gets to, even if it gets to a third world war, some of us will still be here. We don't pray for that. But that's why we prepare for these eventualities. As a government, as people, these are the things that we think of when we are in charge, when we are responsible of leading a nation or leading our people. It's unfortunate we don't have that because of what we have in our political class, especially the people who have given the mandate to run the country. But another thing I need to point out is us Gambians, some of us who are fortunate to be able to have the privilege, to be able to communicate, able to make a difference. We should not just make our difference by giving, but we should make our difference by engaging, educating our people to make a difference. It's not sustainable only to give. We have to educate our people, to be aware, educate our people to identify good leaders, educate our people to be aware what it means to be inclusive, to educate to our people to be aware, to be jealous of the peace and tranquility of our country, not to be misled by any leader, be it religious leader, be it cultural leader, be it a politician, so that we can focus and hold each other accountable and live amicably as we should, be between Muslims and Christians, between different sects of Muslims to live together, with different sects of Christians to live together, different tribes to live together, and to live together as Gambians and as Africans, as citizens of this world, as human beings, as the hospitality known of us. Ibn Battuta said that in 1358 or so of a Gambia, that the people are righteous. People, dislike this, injustice. People are hospitable to foreigners. This is true to us. But with this, what is happening for the past three decades, it's just at times very contradicting. Are we the people who we are? But I believe generally we are who we are. Though our leadership does not reflect that. The route our country is going doesn't reflect the people, and because of there's a lot of silence, people who are capable, who have what it takes to be part of the solutions to bring about this change. We don't have to be journalists. We don't all have to come on our Facebook. We just all have to go on Facebook, but we can all play a part one way or the other in bringing about the change in order to unite our people, for people to take up the democracy we have in order to effect change. And until the change happens, and happens soon, that government, that country is at risk of being destabilized. That country is at risk of losing its sovereignty. The position, what is the position of this government? We have not heard. We heard, sorry, I'll get to that. We have not seen. And what we heard, it's not sufficient. In fact, it's not addressing the crux of the problems. What it's doing is looking for excuses in order to wait for orders to jump in to the leadership, and on expecting the international community that have enough on its plate. And I think this time around, if the impact of the crisis between Russia and Ukraine continue, the impact can be worse than the pandemic on our income that we'll need to support our families. Because we know the impact that will have on price of fuel, petroleum price. And one thing the pandemic did was, reduce the need to consume fossil fuel. And the prices of fuel dipped down, and it helped to, to manage the situation in the economic sense. Yes, productivity was affected in many ways, but in a very short period, people adjusted and reacted to that and maintained healthy or thriving economic conditions. Yes, where the certain economics were downgraded, or their focus were downgraded, but in fact they were readjusted within a short period, in the realization that they can adapt to other ways of doing things and being innovative in moving their economy. Contrary to what is happening right now, when you have the price of fuel, people that can remember the economic crisis, 89, 87, the Black Friday, Black Monday, and we can go on. Major economic crises have been, when they have crashed, when they happen due to either energy or confidence in the economy. And in this sense, this is the energy sector is affected, but confidence on global trade, because of the range of sanctions, because of the Western countries have controlled the systems, and the Easterns and all these things are linked to the system, and this this range of sanctions are going to affect a lot of economies in the in countries outside these regions. I give an example in Guinea-Conakry right now. The companies that are lifting iron ore and other minerals which are of Russian origin, or have something to do with Russians, or these things are affected. That means those mines might be working, but they are not selling anything, and it affects their these things, and we can go on so on. But the energy price would affect everything else we do. But again, wheat prices would affect everything else we do, because of the amount of dependence on wheat from mainly Russia and Ukraine. Now we have seen the countries like Egypt economy really faltering, their pound been battered and so on, because of the amount of wheat they depend on, and the price of petroleum. But these are issues that most countries will able to try to manage, as bad as it is. But for us, diasporans will going to affect us a lot, because of our outgoing, or the money we're able to save. I know we do everything to deprive ourselves to give, but as I said, we have to do it because of the love of our family. But we are encouraging a problem, and this problem is not sustainable. We cannot take over the mandate of government unless we do more than what we do by just giving. This time round is going to affect us more than the pandemic. and this government is not addressing these issues. The government is actually in place based on the goodwill of the people. I'm not talking about the social contract or anything else. Some people will tell you the naivety of Gambians. That's why they are in place. What happens in the Gambia, if it happens in any other country, that government would not be. That's why in many countries it will not happen, because the politicians, the people in government will know the consequences of not delivering what they are supposed to be delivering. But in Gambia, people are soldering on, crying about it, and suffering and everything and going about. And these people who loot their coffers and abuse and abuse them and be very arrogant about it are still going about their business. The worst of abuse is happening in the Gambia now than ever before. Not the First Republic, not even the dictatorship. I mean the economic abuse that is happening. To the extent of, because of, as they say, the fish rot from the head, because of the amount of abuse of the economy that happens from the executive, from Adama Barrow downwards. It have just spiraled and just crystallized to even the middle management, to the lower echelons of the bureaucracy in that country. They all do whatever they want. It's impunity. Nothing will happen about it because of how bad it is. And this government have not addressed these issues, and we'll get to that. But what I'm saying is, to the extent of now, it's a norm that people who are clerical positions in the Gambia be known from, we know their salaries are not even $5,000 a month. To be living a lifestyle that they will build houses, drive very beautiful cars, travel for holidays in Turkey and Dubai because it's accessible, and doing other things because of what? That's the norm now. Everybody's doing it. I'll do it, nothing come out of it. It's no wonder we had about the scandal in Gambia Ports Authority that they say junior staff, but if the junior staff have the audacity to do that and live that lifestyle, why do you think they do that? Because of that's the norm. That's what the culture is now. It's everywhere, and people do whatever they want. But as we move on, we ask ourselves, what have this government done? You see, we are not going even far to a history. We are not going to talk about the 5 years. Let's just talk about from when the president was inaugurated. What have this government done? We all know the 5 years was completely a failure. There's no one area of success. Not one area of success. It's complete a failure. And now we talked about, let's talk about the problems from now, since he was inaugurated, probably 3 months ago. And we'll see that it's just a continuity of what has been happening. Instead of recalibrate, look at themselves and see that, look, this is not sustainable. However, they found themselves where they are. That's the only way to talk about it in the Gambia, because the government found themselves where they are. However, they managed to do that. It's still, something that Gambians have to ponder on. But why they have not decided to change the gear? But that change would have to start from what? Reforming your cabinet. Why the cabinet was not reformed? Because they're not ready for change. And not only not ready for change, not capable of change. The government is not capable of change. They cannot change themselves. They cannot change. And no amount of pressure would change them. An amount of pressure would do what? Would then take them out. And that's the only physical change that is possible in the country. If anyone tells you about any other change, they're fooling themselves. They're taking completely, take the government out. That's the only change that can happen. How that's done, we can do it democratically. We can do it democratically and have the change. Now, we ask ourselves, what have this government done? Nothing. To the extent of not even reforming or reshuffling the cabinet. Why? Because of, again, it's an agenda. The agenda is about Barrow and people around him. Now they are manipulating and and waiting for the timing in order to continue. Now they're taking a break in a sense of to wait, to consolidate, and that consolidation will come after the parliamentary elections. Once the parliamentary elections is over, and look at the candidates. Look at the candidates that the Barrow have put forward. The worst of candidates we have ever witnessed. The worst of candidates we have ever witnessed. Let's look at an example of a candidate in Serekunda West, that Mustafa Lowe. That's deliberate. These are the buffoons that Barrow wants in Parliament. To the extent of we heard the amount of people, are they better off? I don't even know, that decided to go to stand for independence because of they are the same. The only reason they want to be part of NPP is to be on a gravy train. Now they want to decapitate, they're standing on independence in order to win a seat and to be in Parliament and to serve Barrow's agenda. They said it. That's what they want. But even Barrow does not want those people. Probably they comprehend a little. He doesn't want anybody can comprehend a little. And he's fighting tooth and nail, going around the country, saying that just campaigning against independence. And this is the same person when put through as an independent. This is the person that went through an parliament in order to change a constitution, in order to, in their pronunciation, to give the MPs their independence, to operate, so that they cannot be sacked from a party and lose their seat. We know all that was calm. Now it's coming to bite him. He's saying that, they're going out there saying that independence should not be encouraged. But this is what they're doing. They want to consolidate on that and continue what they were doing. But they have not come out to address what the problems that we are facing, or they came out and they have not addressed it sufficiently, or they have not even subscribed any solutions to the problem, but in fact trying to divide us again, divide us further down, in order for us, to be at each other, and they continue doing what they do. That's what they do, divide and rule. And in doing this, we talk about the amount of corruption that happened in these 3 months. I'm not even talking about the historic. Now it's funny that I'm talking, when we say about the historic, is what happened before December. The multi-billion corruption that happened before December. That can even be termed as historic, because of we have all the all the huge corruption that happened from December to now in that small economy. How is it sustainable? And nothing is absolutely done about. Nothing can be, because of it affects it will impact on the president himself. He is on top of that corruption. In a sense, on top is he's part of the corrupt system. He's benefiting from all this corruption. That's what we call the historic, the gun petroleum, all the act of corruption are buried. The government is struggling to pay for that money now. The last time they paid 600 million to Trafalgar, one of the suppliers of the petrol. From which money? Our money. From our money. And the average Gambian is suffering. Teachers are suffering. Nurses are suffering. Soldiers are suffering. Policemen are suffering. Every Gambian is suffering. Students are suffering. Hungry. Because of the money that should be invested to alleviate poverty. That money is being spent to cover up corruption and they changing their lives. And for the people that come on, but I know now people will not ask for the evidence of corruption. When you say corruption, why am I no evidence? Where's evidence? We have seen people like 𝐶𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 transform themselves. Within the 4 years or 5 years in government, 𝐶𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 have built two mansions, one in the Combo, one in their rural village. That's how much easy corruption is now in that country. But I'm not talking about only 𝐶𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬, I'm talking about all those other people. Those people at GRA, I mean, go and see the lifestyle. I'm not saying everybody in the DRA. I mean the corrupt people in the DRA that have the opportunity to do it. Look at those people in the Ports Authority, the ones just detected. Those are the detected ones. Why do you think these things are happening? But the same thing is affecting NAWIC. I mean, what have we done? What have this government? They mute. Why the president cannot do anything about NAWIC? Because part of the problem for NAWIC. Remember the 35 million Kodole was a bribery for NAWIC. To give contract to a Chinese company gave the bribe, eventually they got the contract. Just as the Simlex case. Then let's go on. He benefited from that, and once you do that, when you take kickbacks from these companies, you would not have the job delivered, or when it's delivered, it's not satisfactory because of you compromise yourself. But we see the problems in the Gambia, and he dare not. He cannot address the situation, and every other problem in NAWIC, I'll tell you, have an element of corruption. And because of that corruption causes what? Incompetency, because people are in places that they should not occupy because they are there to serve a purpose, and that purpose to allow a wrong thing to be carried out. The procurement of, the petroleum procurement of spare parts, procurement of services is entirely corrupt. And Barrow is benefiting from that, from Babakar Jawara becoming part of suppliers for this thing, and all the counterparts that he have. He have created a lot of new companies created affiliated to Barrow, who are now actively been abusing the system, and Barrow benefits from that. Some of these things we'll talk about it in detail. When we have all the discussions. But this is the reason. This is what is affecting us. Even the fertilizer. The reason Barrow cannot do anything. He said it. It's not Ben Sware or any platform ever, or nobody else said this. Barrow said it. He knew about this. The corruption, arrested, would not be prosecuted. A minister was involved. The minister was involved in the permanent secretary was involved in the first one. Minister is involved, second one, permanent secretary. But those are the people pointed out. Barrow himself is involved because of the way they deal. I talked about that before. I explained how everything was done. Again, Ababakar Jawara saw the lucrativeness of importing fertilizer or supplying fertilizer to government. He become part of the government suppliers. What they do is, what they put on their invoice, it's not even what they supply. They start to steal it from there, and it trickle down to the people storing it in the stores. What do you expect? You think the storekeeper will be punished? No, because of the storekeeper is aware of what has been happening from the top coming down. This is why no prosecution. They talk about it. Fertilizer has been taken out to be this thing. It's affecting our agriculture, productive of our culture. Again, the government is part of it. Now another corruption. You see, Gambia Civil Aviation Authorities. We talked about this. The exit entry payment for security, airport security. The list. I don't know how Gambia passed their security. Their regulations for aviation security. I'll tell you, I don't know. I don't know how do they get that certificate. I'll tell you, if it's done right, Gambia should not be qualified in the way and manner they operate their security. I have studied aviation security. I've worked in the aviation security industry. I've understand how stringent the rules are, from not only the airport, but anything linked to the airport. Suppliers. It's so stringent that even the suppliers working, who would have access or whose services would impact on the airport would have to be scrutinized. They have to comply with the same regulations. We call them consignors, known consignor, known and unknown consignors, how to be dealt with, even known consignors. Give you an example. If I was a catering company supplying aviation, the aviation industry, my premises have to pass certain kind of assessment to prove that it's not easy to infiltrate my premises or my systems in order to plant anything within the cargo that leave my premises to the airport. I have to prove that, and I have to have a mechanism that from the premises, the minute the vehicle or the truck or whatever carrying the cargo from my premises to the airport is secure. If that vehicle have to stop anywhere for any period of time, should be reported and should be assessed to see if anything there's a security breach before it gets to the airport, because of the access they have in the airport, it will be vulnerable. That's what we call airport security. Not an airport you go in Tom, Dick and Harry. You cannot tell. Immigration, police, NIA, you cannot tell. Porters anywhere hustling like a market crowd. And we're saying that we're paying extra. To who? Still Gambians cannot tell you to who. A company we don't know of. Where is the money going to? I mean, it's not even, the money is not even going to the right budgetary angles or whatever you call them in your accounting fields. We know that. We said that. And we had a proof now. A letter came out. Can you imagine the finance minister writing to the managing director of the Gambia Civil Aviation Authority, writing a letter to the board of directors asking for permission to take a loan, because they have a directive from the finance ministry to take a loan of the 25% cut they were meant to receive. I forgot the figure again, how much, $700,000 is or something like that. I forgot the figure. To take a loan, then the government, finance minister, will pay for that loan. That means paying for the interest. Because of what? The money, 25% that was meant to give to the GCCA was not given. What's that? What's that? I mean, can you just believe that? We all know what's happening there. Where this money gone? Why the 25% was not given up? Where is the money gone? Why would GCCA go and take a loan? And in fact, not only they prescribe the bank to take the loan. You see, that's how the corruption goes. They even have their preferable banks. Everything is corruption. Now, who's going to pay the interest? The taxpayers. The taxpayers have paid money to take care of something. Now that money has been taken away, vanished. Now the taxpayer is going to take a loan and pay for the loan again. That's what they do. And nothing comes out of it. Nothing comes out of it. We move on to that. We talk about the central bank scandal. We don't hear anything about it again. The central bank came out, the police came out. Within 48 hours, the police came out and said there was no merit in the case. Central bank came out to say there's no merit in the case. But the minute an additional information was provided, the staff of the central bank accused was suspended. Still now, the central bank did not come out to update us on what's going on. But we have seen mutilated, millions and millions of mutilated dollars circulated. Why is that so? And the central bank wants to make us believe that they are taking care of their mandate properly. They are regulating the currency. They are doing things that how comes the millions and millions of dollars are mutilated in circulation? When 3 years ago we changed our currency and we were promised a better currency, waterproof currency, enhanced security and everything else. Where is it? Still the old currency is in circulation. In fact, what I realized from the pictures, old currencies seems to be even more durable than the new currency. How can you determine a fake currency if the hallmarks of the currency accepted? The central banks allow this money to circulate. You see, that's why when the person said that the money issued to the central bank or whatever it is was in mutilated form, it can make of sense. Probably that's a way of covering up for fake money. Why did the central bank allow this? I can tell you, during the First Republic, Even a child can walk to a commercial bank and issue out and hand over a mutilated currency, and you'll be given back a brand new currency. You can. Even time of Jammeh was bad, but it has never been bad. Now it's an industrial scale. Something is going on. Something is going on. Because the money is not coming out from traders. The money is coming from the bank. You go to the bank and the bank pays you mutilated currency. Where does the bank get the money from? From the circulation. Because circulation, as we say, it comes to the central bank. The central bank being the heart. Just like the blood goes through the heart, it gets filtered and so on. It comes to the central bank. Instead of the central bank arresting the mutilated currency and pump out new currency, it's not happening. What is happening there? For how many years? That central bank scandal, we are not hearing anything about it. Don't be surprised, you will not hear anything about it again. Just ask them petroleum, just ask, let's go on. We can go on. Count all those historic events. But now, even the biggest, I say this is the biggest corruption. This is the biggest crime committed to Gambians, and most Gambians have not even seen it yet. The OIC projects. The OIC projects. Can you believe that? You see, if you look at it, this government have not designed one project and deliver that project in the best in the manner it should be. Let's look at the Banyan project, Banyan Road project. How many millions of dollars for that concrete and rehabilitation of gutters? Gutters. It's not sewage, gutters. For that amount, no traffic lights, nothing. To rehabilitate an existing colonial gutters, to use bricks, and masonry and pull it up again. Millions of dollars. They have not built a treatment plant for the excess water or a capture water or anything. They have not done anything innovative. And they charge millions of dollars. We know why. We have seen how the contract was designed and everything went through. Tell me one, nothing. Every other road that was complete, and even to a desire or these things, be it it was something started from the dictatorship. Jammeh. Just as the Senegambia Bridge, just as the road in Lamin Koto Pasamas Road, just as the road connecting the Westfield Road, all those roads were designed. And it just happened that this government came and executed it. Not one single project, one. The road networks and the bridge in URR were done exclusively designed by the Chinese. What I mean, a project designed and implemented by this government, none of them. None. Not in agriculture, not in youth development, not in women's development, not in the look at the infrastructure they inherited in the health sector. Look at the infrastructure. They lied about everything. They lied about this five-star hospital, 500 beds. Where it is? Where is it? Where is the? They lied about it. They convincingly lied to themselves. Where is it? Foundation stone was laid. Go and look at it. They lied about many roads. Where are they? It was all because of these elections. When we said it, they said we don't want the progress of that country. Where is it? They talk about bridges. Where are the other bridges they talk about? They would never execute anything. Look at Royal RVH Hospital. How many times did they say that they're going to refurbish, rehabilitate it? Where is it? Because of what? You see, the problem with this government, they are so greedy, not sophisticated. What they do is, in order to use the ingredients, resources available to make the cake, and for Gambians to share that cake, no. They start to steal the ingredients, the flour, the oil, the eggs, the butter, the sugar. They steal everything, and that's everything collapses. That's the understanding of what happens with the OIC project, and it starts from Barrow himself. It starts from Barrow himself. And I've just written the first part. I'm going to put the second part on. And I'll just give you a brief overview of what it's all about. You see, my understanding to these projects, or my understanding to a lot of things going on, because I've been proactively following, based my understanding of national security, proactively following the activities of the government. And it's not this government, I mean from the 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐜 government. And in fact, I can claim from the Jawara government. Yes, probably not to a mature level, whatever it is, but I always have an inquisitive mind. I always have concerns, I have worries. I was always interested in how the state works, what the state does, how does it affect us. I was always interested in statecraft. It's not accidental I am where I am today. But coming to 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬, understanding 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬, and I'll tell you one thing. The OIC project came to the Gambia, yes, credit of 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 for what he wanted. You see, 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 was looking at, you see, 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 used, I mean, he say anything about him. But one thing is, he do think ahead. And he do think ahead than many Gambians. Most Gambians just think of now. Some just think of what they're going to eat today. Others think of what they're going to eat tomorrow. Others think of what they're going to eat next week. Others think of next month. Hardly even people think about what they're going to do next year. 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 would think of 40 years to come, where he wants to see himself. Then if 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 thinks of, if 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 talks of ruling Gambia in 1,000 years, people translate that literally. What 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 is saying is, metaphorically, his system, his creation, his influence will determine the country in 1,000 years. That was his ambition. And I'll give you a short. I've written a lengthy document on this. And part of, actually, the document was starting from, it was completely a different thing. The document was looking at, the political Islam. Document was looking at political Islam, and part of that was looking at, it went to many areas, but the most part I concentrated of what was the sub-Saharan Africa, and the relationship with political Islam and terrorism and governance and the challenges with democracy and so on. And that drove me down to Gambia. And yes, interestingly, I was not looking at Gambia per se, but following it through drove me down to Gambia because of certain things that happened. I managed to connect that, coming down to see actually what was happening in the Gambia. And and when that happened was before 2016. This was actually around 2014 onwards, around 2014. And what actually happened is, what led me here is, when I do my research, there's this thing about, most people don't hear about it, but there's Shia movement in Nigeria that's been having a lot of conflict with the Sunnis in Nigeria, especially this Boko Haram or the extremist groups, and the role the Iranians were playing in supporting this Shia movement in Nigeria. And as I was going through that, I found a document that pointed to how a ship cargo was arrested that was bound for the Gambia from Iranian this thing for Gambia, addressed to Canning Life Farms. Wow. When I came across that now, and it started to evolve into other things. But bringing it up again, what actually happened was, 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 already looked at the geopolitics and looked at way to position himself. 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 knew it's not sustainable to go into or this setting of this the resemblance of democracy, going through elections and so on. He have to seal this, and he have to seal this by 2016. Why? Because Yaya has seen the from the Arab Spring, what was happening, what happened to Gaddafi, what happened to Mubarak and others. And Yahya understand the influences of the global politics onto sustaining their position. And Yahya have looked at, in fact, again, another thing that most Gambians don't look at the dynamics is Senegal. Yahya have seen how Ablaye Wade was removed by the growth of youth population in Senegal. Yahya was looking at the youth population. How that the youth population, agitation from the youth population, created the change that took Ablaye Wade out. And Yahya Jammeh had policies. Policies would not be known to Gambians on how to deal with some of these things. And the back way will be part of it, but we're not talking about bad way. Let's come back to the OIC. Then Yahya Jammeh see himself, he had to position himself. And in order to position himself, the Cold War was coming in, but something he have to be in order to able to have a track onto the Cold War was Islamization. Already there is enough resources from the University of Medina. There's a program that is trying to win over countries to be Islamicized. You see, that thing happened in Sudan, it happened in Pakistan, and so on. Now he wants to benefit from that. This is what pushed Yahya to this Islamization project. And in order to fulfill this Islamization project, he have to appease the likes of Zaid, Naik, and others, and people that are subscribed to the to organizations. And he started to reach out to these people, showing interest of wanting to transform the country to these things and so on. It went on, but these things cannot be realized alone. We have heard from the Minister of Justice then, Fatma Singate, talking about when Yahya tasked her to put off a task force that would study how to bring about Sharia into the country and so on. But now, certain things you need to do to achieve by 2016. That so after 2016, Gambia would just be another emir, and Yahya would be the monarch and so on. Then he had to have certain things. He had to have that global support, not from the Arabs alone, because he know the Arabs might have the monetary support, but they don't have the political powers to support him. This is the time Yahya ditched Taiwan. Even though Taiwan was so generous, he did Taiwan. When he did Taiwan, he went for China. He went for China for two reasons. One, for the Security Council membership of China, support to, for Gambia. Two, for the infrastructure development he want to achieve. Yahya point out, and that's how the projects came out from Basse area. Yahya decided if he managed to achieve this with the help of the Chinese, the population, because of the population, if go and look at the population growth of the Gambia, you see the population of growth of URR. That if he managed to build those infrastructure connecting URR, that will elevate him. But he need to replicate. He need to replicate that success within the combo. And the only way to achieve that would be through the OIC, because he has seen what Dakar, Senegal have achieved. Yahya used his contacts and started to move on to host this OIC. You see, that's why his Islamization ideology would move on. Then while doing that, China was not enough. Yahya Jammeh rebuilt the diplomatic relationship with Gambia and Russia. If you remember, that's when Gambia opened a diplomatic mission in Russia. Lamin Manga became the first diplomat. But what actually happened to Usman Baji, the CDS, traveled to Russia at that time to sign a security pact. And that security pact, what it was going to do is to allow Russian submarines to use the Gambian ports, and in fact to build a separate docking this thing for their submarines. because Russia was already looking at these things, and Yahya Jammeh saw this opportunity and opened up to this. But in order to consolidate on this, the fourth thing was, Yahya Jammeh was expecting after 2016, Gambia would start to pump the oil. If he had pumped the oil, then the money would come in. He would not mind any sanctions and anything from the international community, just as other countries have survived it. Then he has support from China, from Russia, that security-wise he is secured. And then what else? Gambians are contented because of there's an IOC project that brought all these road networks and other economic benefits, and the south, the down in the URR, there's these things happening, and he can declare himself an emir, because it was already behind the scenes working on just to get people to come around and vote for a referendum, and he would have been an emir. That was his plan. And if he was not stopped in 2016, he would have achieved it. This government inherited this project, OIC. That's how this government inherited the project. Where are we now? It completely failed. And it failed. This government does not have the audacity to come out and tell Gambians that they have failed. Now, in fact, they're going around trying to smear people that came out to agitate on this. How this came about? In September last year, because I get information, I don't rush onto my information. Anytime I start agitating something, I have already got something I'm holding on, and I'm waiting to interest the people and to bring the attention of the people affected and people involved, in order to release what I have. And that's what I did to them. In September, I have this information that it's not likely. It's highly not likely that Gambia is going to host this summit. And I asked for the results. They said to me, funding. There's problem with funding. There's incompetency in delivering these projects. The people are, tasked to do it, they don't have what it takes to do it, and they are corrupt. And the entire system is corrupt, but because the corruption started from Barrow. The initial team, led by Lamin Sane, have done, within a short period, have mobilized funds. Pledges and everything that would have made it successful. Saudi Arabia and different countries. Azerbaijan, Turkey and other Islamic countries. To the extent that it was feasible that it could be done. They went through certain things, and that's where they had clash with Barrow. Because of Barrow was not happy the way it was going. Barrow wanted the resources to be streamlined, to be coming through the finance ministry so that he can get something out of it. They said no. There's a reason we are a separate entity. We have something like a status that gives us the independence. That's why we have a secretariat, so that everything will be run, resource mobilization and everything will be executed from us. Yes, we'll work with the oversight agencies, we'll work with the line ministries in order to do our work. The second thing was contract award the contract. They said, no, this thing doesn't work that way. It works this way. We do this, Barrow was not happy. This is what led Lamin Sane, Nyangjai and other people to resign from the OIC project. Apparently, in fact, it's recently I learned other people have resigned. At that time, in fact, not even now. And subsequently, other people resigned from the project. But I followed it. And I was looking at seeing, let's see what's going to happen. But in October, when the government went to lay the foundation stone, they were lying. Now, because they took kickbacks, bribes to certain companies, and they awarded them contracts. One of the companies was called Gambisara. The other company was a Fritonian company, very difficult to pronounce. Unless, I've not got the name on here, I could have read out the name. But it's a Sierra Leonean company. In fact, it's owned by Bailo Barry's son. And some of these companies are dodgy. They don't have what it takes. The Gambisara doesn't have what it takes. The guy is a supplier. The guy have never got an engineering background. They never executed an engineering project or anything. But because of his affiliation, I think his name is Alaji Conte. It's not the Alaji Conte at Barrow's advice. This is another Alaji Conte. that's how he got part of this contract. But he is associated to Barrow. He's very close to Barrow. You see, these things affected. And the running of the secretariat, they had $3 million given to them by Saudi fund or Saudi government, wherever it is, for operational fund. This is for to pay their salaries. This is how they use money to travel, to arrange for logistics, arrange for resource mobilization per se. This is what they pay their rent. This is what they use, for their utility and so on. $3 million. And after the $3 million, they were going to be given another $3 million. What happened? They chew into the $3 million before even they got the other $3 million. They finished the $3 million through paying each other per diem, and they will not travel. The managing director, the CEO, would not travel, and he would claim per diems. And they were supposed to do things, they would claim per diems. They would claim the amount of coupons, petrol coupons, the usual corruption. But not only that. Now, these companies, and now the CEO himself have a company. Now you see, they just take it, as I said, instead of making the cake and we share the cake, no, they take the ingredients of the cake. Now we have no cake. Everybody forming a company, and the nepotism, contracts given to sons, brothers, cousins, friends, associates, jobs. In this way, nothing works. Sharing everything. Now they have a problem. Initially, they put a meter, countdown meter, counting every second, every minute, every day, every hour, every day, every week, on when this OIC summit was going to be held, which was in June 2022. I happen to have a friend who have actually taken the screenshot of the meter. And I came out to start the agitation. Now I've got most of what I needed. Now I started the agitation. And when we started the agitation, some Gambians become aware or awakened about it and start asking questions. Actually, when is this OIC? What's happening to the roads? Oh, we have seen the demarcation, we have seen this, we have the file. But 5 months now, nothing has been laid. No, there's no resources to do that. Whatever came, it's just vanished. The hotel never started. The hotel, the person that came to claim to have able to raise $100 million is a liar. He's a crook. We told them. The person that drew the plan for the hotel was not even paid. The guy did not even pay the person who drew the plan for the hotel. And the government went to the extent of seizing a property owned by another company to give it to a criminal. Yes, I call him a criminal because he has a criminal record in Senegal. He's been found wanting in an audit report for claiming to supply something to government he have not. And the National Audit Office of Senegal found him guilty in a court of law. He's a criminal. And Gambia will give him that because of the kickbacks. He gave 2 vehicles to Barrow. The same type of vehicles he gave to Macky Sall, and one of the vehicles caught fire. It's the same vehicles he gave to Barrow. Now we see the corruption, and this is what led to this. And these people have the audacity to come out, to bring out a press release, but dare not put the date when they are going to host this summit. They put a release just saying something that was not even questioned. We didn't question that they had a mandate. We know they have a mandate. Or we have support to host this. Are you going to host it? When are you going to host it? No, it was not addressed. And the failure to address that, the Minister of Works himself came and made a post saying that people who went on to say that we are jealous, are bitter, are this. A childish way of addressing issues. We have a right as citizens to hold you accountable. We are asking questions. But you know why? They don't have, they already failed. And they knew they failed. In October, if you go back onto the press release in October, when a press release is done on a project, certain details is a must on the project, on the press release. When the project comments, was not on the press release. They just say a foundation stone. When the project's expected to be completed should be on the press release. It's not there. The amount of money spent for the project should be on the press release. It wasn't there. The people that provided finance or how the project was financed, that name should be there. The only name there is the contractors. And those are the contractors that led to the failure of the project because of it's not done right. They knew from there on they have a problem. Now they are looking a way to salvage this, but they cannot tell that fact to Gambians. Because of what presidential elections, they want Gambians to believe that Barrow is the road builder. Where are the roads? They even make the situation worse. They make the situation worse. And not stopping to that, they still cannot tell us because of parliamentary elections as well. Now they come to defend this issue. They will call in people names. But when I started to agitate this, they went to their website and removed the countdown, which would have told you, which told people that the summit is in June. But still now to today, I'm amazed. Gambia, the journalist Gambia didn't even bother to find out when are we going to hold the summit. Nobody, no Gambian can tell you a date that we're going to hold the summit. You think if we're going to have an important summit like this, up to in March, we don't know the date? You think we will have a summit like this up to this period? We don't have seen the delegations, we don't have seen the activities. You know what the amount of programs that needed to be conducted to sensitize people about security, sensitize people about the protocols, about what is going to happen? Did you see anything like that? No. In fact, what's happening here, we got reports that because of the due to the Saudis not giving them the other $3 million, what is happening today? The finance minister lent them money last month to pay salaries. Now they are trying to relocate from Petroleum House because they cannot afford to pay Petroleum House. They are moving on to the conference center. And go and find out how much is costing Gambians to maintain the conference center when we are not using that conference center much. We're using it for little conferences and so on. But why did we build the conference center? Just show you the priority of this government and how they fail. But just imagine that. How can we fail this much? These projects could have changed, transformed the country, but not with this government. The entire, from the works minister, finance minister, the tourism minister, the president himself, the people around the president, the vice president himself. Look, I will find time, I'm very busy, I'll find time to write up the rest of the document to expose the group, the structure they have. And the sad thing is this structure, I have to say this before I even write about this structure have a resemblance of tribe. Let me say, I use the word emphasize resemblance, appearance of tribe, as if it's about tribe. Yes, we cannot deduct that tribe angle from it. But what we can deduct is it's not to benefit those tribes. It tells you something about Gambia. Majority, what is happening in Gambia, this government have entrenched. It was a perception in the Jawara days, and it became a system, and now the system is entrenched on the Barrow. You have Mandinkas, you have Fulas, and you have Wolofs, and you have Sarahulis. 4 tribes now. This is what is happening. I know people try to avoid it. But what I'm saying, I'm emphasizing, is not that the tribes are doing it. People from this tribe around Barrow. People from this tribe around Barrow. There's a group of Mandinkas. There's a group of Fulas. There's a group of Wolof. And there's a group of Sarahulis. Now, the other minorities, the Serer, the Akos, the Jolas, and everything are sidelined. Now, these people, in fact, what they're doing is they are preaching. These are the same people preaching tribalism, dividing us to see every tribe to be a problem. They want the Mandinkas to see Fulas as a problem. They want the Fulas to see Mandinkas as a problem. They want to see Mandinkas to see Wolof as a problem. They want to see Wolof to see Mandinkas as a problem. They want to see Sarahulis. They want Sarahulis to see Mandinkas as a problem. They want Mandinkas to see how it's a problem. This is something have not even happened during Jammeh's time. Now we have new groupings. The perception in the Jawara days was the Wolof and Mandinkas rivalry. We all know the rivalry, what we saw about. It can be, and Yaya bring in the angle of Jolas. Now it become Wolof Mandinka Jolas rivalry. Now Barrow came and brought four tribal rivalries in it and dropped the Mandinkas and brought Sarahulis part of it. This is what is happening. But they don't represent their tribes. But what they're doing is walking among themselves along their tribal lineage. Yes, because among themselves they are fighting there. The group of Mandinkas in Barrow are fighting with the Wolofs, they are fighting with the Sarahule, they are fighting with the Fullers. The group of Fullers in Barrows, they are fighting this all. And who is the top of the everything? Is Barrow. Everything will come back to Barrow, and Barrow will be the one fixing it. And these people will go out in public to tell their tribesmen or women or people that this is what our problems is with the Mandinkas, our problems are with the Fullers, our problems are this or this. Barrow is accommodating. What is he accommodating? The division. Barrow is accommodating the division. That's why you can realize how entrenched this is now in Gambians. The Gambian mindset. Every Gambian, most Gambians now would look at things at the specs of what tribe is he? Oh, it's Benswara, he's Fuller. Yeah, probably that's why he's saying this. Now, if Benswara is sensitive, I started to censor myself. Not to say certain things because I've seen a Fuller saying it. Or I say certain things, or I will not say certain things, they will say, oh, if I say something, a Fuller does something, I say, they say, he's a self-hating Fuller. A Mandinka says something, I say, they say he's a tribalist. If Wolofs do something, I say he's a tribalist. You see, this is what they're trying to do. They are silencing us, they are dividing us. That's why the country is in chaos. But they are not doing it for this people. Generally, the Gambians are suffering, but they are not suffering. You see, drum beaters are becoming presidential advisors. They are fatting. They are fatting now with men who were skinny are looking like pregnant women. All of them around Barrow, like pregnant women. Now everything they do it in their kabudu. Mandinka kabudu, Wolof kabudu, Fuller kabudu, Sarahule kabudu, and this is the same thing they take to the business community. The business community now is run by that way. If you don't subscribe in this, you are out of the loop. Now the country is run by these people in this manner. Why do you think that we are not in trouble? Everything else is run in that manner. You can see it. Rather we say it and address it than avoid it. Because I can see a lot of people falling for this. And I keep on cautioning people. Oh, you Fullers. Yeah, they fall for it. It's not Fullers doing it. There's some Fullers doing it, but just as some Mandinkas are doing it. Oh, you Mandinkas. Yes, some Mandinkas are doing just as you Wolofs. Some Wolofs are doing it. You some Wolofs are doing it. You hardly see now a prominent influential Manjago, prominent influential Jola, prominent influential Sere, prominent influential other people, or a Christian. Because in order to have anything, you have to belong to one of these groupings. It's 4 groupings, you have to ally yourself within these groupings. And that's why you see this thing going on. Now people are allying themselves in these groupings, and it's called the NPP. This is what the NPP stands for. And now we are in problem. We are in trouble. They would point to you as a tribalist. Don't be silent because they point to you as a tribalist. That's a way of silencing you. I am not saying you to go aggressive. I am not saying you to fall for their trap, but expose them for who they are, what they're doing. One thing you don't do is, if you fall for that trap, is when you go and associate that tribe for the wrongs they do. None of those people represent the Fullers. None of those people represent Mandinkas. None of those people represent Wolofs or anything. They represent themselves and their families, because themselves and families are not affected by the highest price rise or anything, because if they are looting our coffers. Who are affected is the general public. That's why we should wake up to this. That's why it's not sustainable where we're going with this. And I come on to something else before finishing here, is the issue about Dr. Banja. Banja is a Dr. Banja, the permanent secretary of fisheries. And it's sad to see some governments saying that this is a proof that the justice works. You see, it just shows us how uncritical. Sorry, let me rephrase this. You see, governments are so polarized now. It's either support, because you are against something, you will have to support, or you cannot see a fault with another thing. Some people, you expected to be smart, to be critical. They come up with this notion, this is a proof that our justice works. That's crap. If you cannot see what's happening, you are crap. You are your thinking is being clouded. I'll come to that. Some people saying, the journalists had it wrong. Another stupid thing to say. Sorry to say, but it's stupid to say that the journalists had it wrong. What this exposed is just the impunity in the country. Do you know why? Dr. Banja was not doing this alone. The Fisheries Ministry is the most corrupt ministry. Look, how can one use the word corrupt ministry anyway? The entire fish is rotten now. It starts from the head and it's just rotten. It's not even good for 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐜𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 for maggots. Don't dust the maggots out. Take it and throw them away. That's the only solution to this problem now. There's no negotiations. There's no way you can work with this government to achieve anything. This government has to be deprecated and taken away democratically. It can be done. Until we figure out the democratic means of taking them away, I tell you, the problem is going to continue and it's not sustainable. The country will be destabilized because people will be so hungry, so dissolute, and the people will come out and something will be done. Probably that's how it will be done democratically. But let's come at this Dr. Banja. Even in the recording, he mentioned other people, that he is collecting for other people as well. We know the Fisheries Ministry is corrupt to the core. Dr. Banja cannot do this alone. And if you follow the investigation of Mustafa K. Dabo, Swandi Dabo, I'll tell you, I've never met this gentleman. I have contact with this gentleman. He is the most creative and cautious, a man of integrity. I have dealt with him in many cases. He is not in a rush to polish anything. He thinks about everything. He's very intelligent, very smart. He will hardly have something wrong. I'll tell you that. Mustafa K. Swandi Dabo would hardly have something wrong. I'm not saying he's perfect, but I'll tell you, the way he operates, I'll tell you, he is gauging to perfection. His gauge is for perfection. Because I have talked to him about certain things, and he will tell me, okay, just wait. We have to get this. We have to get this. I have to get this. I have to get this. I'm working on this. I'm working on this. And he is a professional when he's come to his sourcing of information, the way he deals with information and everything else. If you have followed the investigation, it have touched. That audio was just part of it. He have touched on not the entire structure of the fisheries, how things are done. Entire structures, how boats are captured, how this dealt with, how the settlements. The failure of this case is failure from the prosecution. If the prosecution have investigated and used the material from Mustafa K. Dabo, I'll tell you a conviction would have been guaranteed. I'm not blaming the judge. It's what you take to the judge will rule on. But you know why the prosecution would not be done? Prosecution was forced onto the government. The government never wanted a prosecution. And the permanent secretary knew that he would not be prosecuted. As I said, nobody would be prosecuted in the country. Just ask Gum Petroleum, just ask Central Bank, just ask GCCA, just ask every other GRA, GPO. Let's go on. Tell me which case, fertilizer cases, tell me which cases government have prosecuted or successfully prosecuted. Where is the passport scandal? It will not go anywhere. Because it will get to people they don't want to expose or take to court. This is why the prosecution failed. It's not because of it lacks merit. It's not because of the justice system. No, it's because of the impunity in that country. Do whatever you want. associated with Barrow. Do any corruption, nobody talks because of the corruption is endemic. The same thing on the cocaine cases. You see, every time they're arresting young Gambians with marijuana and all those things, and the cocaine cases, none of these projects anywhere. Where the prosecution for cocaine cases? None. None, absolutely. Because of the system does not have that. They don't prosecute. They don't prosecute people that worthy to be prosecuted. They always pick on people who are actually victims. And finally, I come to the, I wanted to spend an hour. I'm going to hour and a half now. Let me just finally finish up here. The price and commodity prices. The only time the government are petrified now, and be careful, they want to turn this and again divide us. They want to turn this against the traders. No. They want to turn this Gambians against foreigners. Oh, the traders are foolish. The traders are from Mauritania. They're saying yes, the traders are high and mostly Mauritanian. They will have to speak to them. That's very divisive. That is absolutely divisive. Just as they turn around to say, oh, the bread makers are foolish. Absolutely divisive. We'll get to that. We heard in their campaign trail, they are scared. They know what is to happen. It's to Gambians to make that happen. You see, until the government be scared of you people, they will not do it right. Let the government know that Gambians are ready to come out to force them. I'll tell you something will be done. Why can't they realign their budget? Why can't they cut that budget from State House? Why can't they cut on that waste? Why are they going on the store? It's constitutional what? If it is constitutional, there's another way to do the store without costing Gambians millions. The Constitution did not tell you have to spend these millions. If the president meant this, he can go to every region and meet with the stakeholders and discuss with them. But we know it's not that. It's a political campaign. And he's spending millions. Every other penny would have counted. And Gambians would have seen that this government is committed in fighting the problems we are facing. We cannot turn around to blame the pandemic. The pandemics, we had lots of money from international community and Gambians gave out money and the economy survived. Where is the money gone? Pumped to themselves. The corruption, COVID corruption, we've seen it. Now they want to blame the Ukraine-Russia fight. Yes, there's an impact from there. But what have you done? What are you doing? No, they have to turn around and again blame the traders. Ahmad Ba and others, Ahmad Ba went on giving this narrative. You see, that's why we have to challenge these people. He said that if you go to Brikama, the price will be this. If you go to Badibu, the price will be this. If you go to Mansakongo, the price will be this. If you go further down to Basse, yes. Do you know what that called? Transactional cost. And transactional cost would have to be, the burden will have to get to what? The consumer. It's unfortunate because there's no mechanism. The structures are the way they are, that every good, all goods have to come through Banjul ports. There's no other mechanism that goods would be docking at Farafenye. There's no other way that goods are docking at Basse. Now, if the goods are docking at Banjul and you have to pay thousands of dollars for 100 bags of rice to be transported from Banjul to Basse, how much do you think? It's costlier to go to Basse than Brikama. Going to Brikama, it's costlier to go to Brikama than Serekunda. And that cost of transport would be put on that price. He knows that. Then that's not a problem. That's not the problem. We'll get to the problems. Now, they're coming out to say the importers, but they are not talking about the right importers. Most of these Mauritanians are not even imported. Some of them are not imported. Most of them are buying from importers. You see, they don't talk about the cost bound on Gambia, the importers now because of the inefficiency, the efficient port of Banjul. That is adding to cost of goods. They are not talking about the other, you see, the other transaction cost, business rates and other rates people are paying. And all that will come to the cost of, goods. You can take away the levy on rice, but shopkeepers have to distribute the cost of running a business. They don't put the cost of running a business on a single item because of that item had a duty levied. No. It does not work like that. Now, this government have not come up with anything but trying to create blame, trying to make us divided and for us to go after the traders. But you know, another problem is the monopoly. In the case of flour, how many Gambians are importing flour? You find out that it's impossible because if there's a monopoly on flour. And who is Toro? Wagi. Wagi have monopoly on these imports, and they have a way of driving competition. Even if the monopoly at times is not structured, it's something they manipulate the system to drive out small importers or people who want to have activity in that area, because they given duty waivers. They can do as they wish. You cannot compete with them. It's not fair. But he will not say that because Wagi is his friend. They are not pointing to Wagi because Wagi is his friend. They are not calling out Wagi's name. But they are calling out the Mauritanians. They are calling out the bakers, calling them Guineans. And if anybody else does that, he's a tribalist. Anybody does that, they're anti-foreigners. They're xenophobes. What about them? They can say that. Ahmad Ba can say it. They can turn around to call out the Mauritanians, blaming them. They are not to be blamed. We ask ourselves, what else is this government doing? You see, as I said, if they have done things that they meant to do 5 years, they have invested in agriculture. But no, even the fertilizer they said they subsidize, they steal the fertilizer themselves, starting from Barrow downwards. People they give them kickbacks. The importers of fertilizer give kickbacks to Barrow and people that are responsible. And what they do is now, if they say that they are importing 5,000 bags, yeah, government will pay them for 5,000 bags, but they're giving government 4,000 bags. And now the entries and inventories know what they have received. And now those people take 1,000 bags, now 3,000 bags. Before it gets to the local distributor, it's 1,000 bags. That distributor takes 10 bags. And now we end up having 90 bags being distributed to farmers. How do we have productivity in agriculture? Because of corruption from the top down. As I said, we can go on here and call up every act of corruption and everything. Even to say that, as I said, some of this we can even say historic, because they happened before December. This amount of corruption that happened after December is enough for this government to be removed. It's enough for the government to... Yeah, I know it will be very offensive, the word this government to be removed. Ben Suarez is saying the government to be removed. Look, we all have responsibilities. This is my responsibility. I am not breaking any law. It's my democratic right. And wherever I have lived, I would have done that. But that's not the only thing I do. This is just part of what I do. I do other things. Now, it's up to other Gambians to do other things. Depends how much they love that country. Depends how much resources they have. Depends how much they're ready to sacrifice. But I tell you, the ultimate solution is for this government to be removed. Lawfully. Democratically. That's the ultimate solution. How do we do that democratically? There are many ways. But the discussion today is not the way to do them. And Parliament will be one of the ways. That's why if you want to take this Parliament seriously, please do. My problem with the Parliament is 90% are not fit for purpose. We are going to have the same problems. But again, the people have the right to go out and demand the government to go out, because they absolutely failed. And we might be heading that way. We know that when the Arab Spring happened, you know, most people would just look at the pictures and say, yeah, Arab Spring happened because of police violence. No, it's a lie. A big fat lie. The act of police violence on that student was the straw that broke the camel's back. Mainly, it was bread in Egypt. You know, Arabs with bread and other social problems. You see, one thing breaks the camel's back. But I'll tell you, people's stomach is one thing. And I said this time around, I know the diaspora will keep on trying, but the diaspora are hit this time around even harder than they did in the pandemic. The price of fuel and food prices, you'll be surprised. And I know we are not crying out here, but I'll tell you, we could have cried out the way Gambians are crying out. I mean, what you used to have for £50, man, it's nowhere, sufficient anymore. And petrol and other costs of everything, your heating, your utility, your council tax, and everything is just gone up. Mortgage rates are gone up. It's affecting us. But now, as I say, it's up to Gambians to organize themselves and do what they have to do. And I know people not like to hear it, but they are hypocrites. They are the hypocrites. Because they turn out, you supported the government is ruining the country. What do? You keep on supporting the government or want to stop other people, and and you want to subscribe or point to other people as the problem. No, they have a mandate. Why can't they bring out that mandate? No, they will not even go to appoint a new cabinet because of, no, they want to scam us. The worst cabinet is going to happen because that's what Barrow is waiting. That's why he wants to consolidate on parliament and just do whatever he wants. If it comes to corruption, Barrow is the worse than Yahya Jammeh. And I tell you, if he has the opportunity, if Gambians stand up to him, if he had the opportunity, he will be worse than Yahya Jammeh. I'll tell you that. It's not what the person have done, but what the entire person intend to do if you have the opportunity. You don't wait for that opportunity to be given to the person. Take it away from him. Okay, guys, thank you very much. It's been a long one, hour 36 minutes. I wanted to spend an hour. I've been very busy. That's why I didn't come. I was not coming up on programs, but probably things would be less busy soon, and I'll be coming as often as possible. Thank you very much, and have a good day. Thank you.